simple things.
Oh my goodness. Okay. That's just annoying that's what my problem was. I can't believe that. Amateur hour here.
Hey, I'm good on my side. It's all you. I'm just messing with you.
Oh no. It's all good. Okay, so now let's make sure I don't have an echo. That's what it was. I pulled you up so that I could see that you were live and do that. And I usually on Chrome always have it muted, but then I'm using Chrome to stream together. So when I pulled you up, it's not muted. This is aggravating to me about Chrome. You can't mute a tab. You mute a site.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't use that site if that's the problem. So that sounds a whole lot better. I wasn't expecting to go through and come back to begin with. That's the thing that threw me off. So, all right. You know what? I do not have you on screen yet because I have the wrong setup here. There we go. Now I can have you on screen with me. This is been a while since I've had this many little issues getting the stream started. But that's okay. It's just humbling when you think you've got it all figured out and you can go easy and do several in a row. It's a reminder that, hey, there's always a learning curve. There's always mistakes. It's all good stuff.
So I used to work for Apple. I worked for Apple for 10 years. I was like a senior advisor. I did like team management stuff. I did tech support, all of it. I even did like some engineering type stuff at some point. Anyway, but after I left Apple, I had an issue with an Apple device and I had to call in, and it was super humbling. It was like, oh dude, like I can't fix this one. And it turned out to be something stupid, and I felt really, really like, I was like, okay, I must just be out of the loop. I haven't been in it for a while. It was just a little checkbox that I forgot to click. And so, yeah, I understand that.
I'm getting like a distortion on your mic now, like you're talking underwater kind of a thing.
Okay.
Is anyone else hearing that, or is it just me? Yeah, groggy, slightly choppy.
My voice sounds his voice sounds groggy and slightly choppy. Well, groggy might just be because I haven't finished. I guess I did finish my coffee. Here, let's see here. And you're hearing that everywhere?
Yeah.
Is noise gate too high on your side? Here. Is that any better?
Talk a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, 'twas brillig in the slithy toves, did gyre and gimble in the wabe. Oh, Mimsy where the board goes.
It's still doing a little bit of that. Like I said, it's sounds muffled, like all of the sound isn't coming through.
Okay. Let me just turn my mic off. I'll turn it back on. And anything better? Muffled still?
They're telling me that I sound muffled. I'm hearing you muffled, but they're saying I'm muffled. That's weird. I'm hearing you muffled, but they're hearing me muffled.
Okay.
Super weird.
Everything sounds great on my side. I'm just going to tell you that now.
Yeah, it must be. Just me over here.
Okay, so Comfy says I'm muffled on your side, and on my channel everything's clear. Sassy says I can hear you both fine now.
Okay, Mel is saying she can hear us both.
Okay.
All right, it must just be me that's just hearing a little bit of muffle then. So, all right, we'll just go, and if it gets worse, we'll deal with it, and if not, we're good to go.
Well, hopefully it'll get better. Maybe it'll keep getting better.
Yeah, maybe. The fun of collabing over long distances through fiber optics and Wi-Fi and whatever else is getting our signals back and forth to each other. Papsio saying, yeah, it's definitely on this side. So Papsio's hearing it. Yeah, that's not going to change that. Just looking if there's any settings I could do with you coming through to change, but don't have much options. I can turn the gain up or down, but that's not going to be a noise gate for you. Filter set. Yeah, it must be on my side. So if everyone on your side is hearing it well, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, even you're coming through clear. So it's something in your OBS settings, more than likely. Like your audio is coming through nice and clear, which means your mic's working just fine.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I don't know what to change on that to make that sound different. All right. Well, we'll just go. Maybe I can figure it out as we go. I'm not going to I'll just keep playing and see if I can figure something out. But
yeah, not a problem. By the way, I see all the hats there. And then what's on the top shelf? I'm just curious.
Top shelf up here?
Yeah.
There's a lot of comic books up there.
Okay. Oh, maybe not the top shelf. Okay, I see.
Well, the top shelf, there's more. No, there's comic books. They're just laying on their side. So
okay.
And then different bookends that I have. So
okay, those are bookends. Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
No, I understand that. I'm always looking at what's behind people as well. So that makes sense to me. Yeah, so I'm glad to have you on here. Those that don't know, Kit Beardstone, streamer extraordinaire. I don't know. I'm just going to say that because everybody is. If you're doing it and you're doing it for the Lord, then that makes sense to me to call you that. But I think we've known each other. We've been in each other's channels a few times, hanging around, and I just want to get to know, how did you get started on Twitch? What was the connection to start watching, then start streaming, and then was your plan to be intentionally Christian in the space, or how did all that come about?
Well, I kind of started by accident in Twitch, to be honest with you. I was playing games with friends, and I was like, hey, I've always been drawn to new tech and new things. And I think I fell in love with different ways of communicating more than anything. And just the playing with the graphics and trying to get it out there, just that technical know-how, I was always kind of drawn to that. So I started doing it. And it's like, at first it was just like, I think my first stream was actually from my Xbox. I figured out how to stream just from my Xbox straight to Twitch. There was no graphics, no overlays, no chat. It was just simply one-sided communication going out.
Hold on, I just accidentally did something incorrect. So I just totally got rid of your microphone.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to play with it settings, and I just deleted your microphone. So give me a second to add this. I don't know what I got to do. It's been a while. There we go. Okay, I think you should be back now.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good now. I was trying to adjust things, and I was trying to click out of, I'm done looking at it, and instead I just deleted the microphone entirely. So I had to reestablish. So you're good.
Okay. I thought I heard echo there. I think we're good now. So what I was saying is I basically started Twitch by accident. I opened up my Xbox, and I was like, hey, I have this option to stream to Twitch and set a source. And I was like, hey, let's do it. It was all one-sided. I didn't even talk to anybody. It was just simply, hey, I can throw my game up there. Other people can see the game, and I can review it later. That was all there was to it. And I was basically, I was working the night shift, and I would get a call maybe every 2 hours. And I thought, you know what? I could play a game in the meantime, and goof off with that. And suddenly, like, my coworkers would pop in and say, hey, what's going on? And it would just be a ongoing. It became a kind of a community thing, even at work. Even if I was taking calls, I could just stop the game since I didn't have a mic or anything like that. And after that, I thought, let's make a go of this. Let's actually do something with it. And a few years ago, I started doing like regular streams and started meeting people and seeing that there was some like-minded community out there. And at first, I didn't even know there was like this whole Christian side of Twitch, where there's people in the like that were actually having real community on Twitch. And I just was like, okay, this is new. My background, I was a pastor before I worked in tech, and that's actually my degree is biblical theology with an emphasis in youth ministry. And I thought, this is really neat, like now I have people in my chat, it was only one or two people at first, some days it's still only one or two people, but it's really, it's just turned into, I see names and now I know the kind of stories behind the names. And that's where community starts, is just simply having that connection, I think it's Lewis that says, friendship starts when one friend says to another, "What, you too?" One guy says to another, "What, you too?" And so that's really what it came down to.
Yeah, like I say, it's interesting, and I love it. So you started with Xbox of, well, I can go live there and just be able to put it there.
Yep.
I have not done streaming from Xbox. Does it have the chat on the side there that you're able to see? And then if you're playing a game, how do you do chat on it? That's what I've wondered.
If it did, I didn't know. It was simply, I didn't, like my first live streams, it was by one or two, and it was simply, there's no chat. It was one-sided. I didn't have a mic set up. I just simply streamed one-sided and didn't even give any thought to it. But only when I went in afterwards and started looking at, hey, there's somebody actually chatted. I didn't even know they were there. Welcome, I guess. And then I started getting into it a little bit more, trying to figure it out. And I'll be honest, Twitch, when I first got into it, was a little confusing, trying to figure out, like, who are these people? How do people follow you? I remember, I guess the first person I followed, it was because I was trying to figure out, like, they were doing something, and all of their vids that they had linked to in the past were follower only. And I wanted to see some of those videos of something they had done, almost like YouTube, like, how did they do this? And it was just a how-to video is all it was. And I think it was linked from a YouTube link or something from YouTube over to Twitch. And I went and I followed them, and I was like, oh, I get to see their videos now. And that was kind of my first of trying to figure out the mechanics of Twitch. And after that, I kind of got hooked in trying to figure it all out. If I don't understand something, I usually just kind of gnaw at it till I do.
Yeah. Well, one of the nice things I find in gaming community, you're playing a game and people know the game. They're willing to help you figure it out. They want you to enjoy the game that they enjoy. And I think it's the same with Twitch streamers as well. When they know something, they're more than happy to share with you how to do things that they know how to do. I've had plenty of people helping me figure out how to do things on Twitch. What do I need to do? What do I need to do with my settings? All of those kinds of things. How to set things up better. How to do lighting. How to do whatever kind of things. And there's so many people that further along the road that I am. That's like, oh, I still need to learn this from them because they do this well. I haven't had the time to, like, for instance, I've got lights over here that I play with, and they're just on a little thing, but I would love to be able to turn that control over to my chat and let them change my lights. I haven't got over to Lumia yet. I haven't figured that one out yet. So there's that constant growing and learning, and so
and updates throw everything out of whack, and you have to relearn everything. Just
Yes. Yeah, Luce is my one of my mods is teasing me about how to fix sound. Yes, it's the constant. It is. And why one OBS profile to the next with the same settings won't work, I don't understand, but it doesn't. So that's weird. So you had been a pastor, and then you moved into the tech field. So when you were going into gaming, you were just thinking, hey, I'm enjoying doing this and let me explore it more. What was the point along the way that you said, hey, wait a minute, this might be able to be ministry that I could do in this space?
Yeah, there was actually a group that I found through it. I'm trying to remember the name here. That Discord, I think, is long dead. It was before Love Thy Nerd. It was before. It was. I forget the name of the Discord now. Oh my goodness. I'm Matato. Actually, was the one who invited me to it. Mr. Matato, if you've heard of him or know of him. Him, and then JFreak0989 is. I streamed with him yesterday. Both those guys kind of connected with me and, got me involved in that community. And then I realized, hey, there's other people that kind of in this faith-based community that actually do stream together. They do collabs together, and they do support each other. And then I realized that there's this whole community behind it. And it was more than just, a one-way communication. It was more than just being out in in a sense, being on Twitch is a little bit like being out in a wilderness. And hold on, I got an incoming ad break. I'm going to snooze that, turn that off right now. A little bit of and until you find other people, you're just kind of going at it alone. And I think a lot of people have that, where they're just kind of going at it alone. They're just hitting that go live button, and they're seeing who pops up. And when you actually want to succeed at streaming, you actually start figuring out the community. And that, to me, I was blind to at first. And thankfully, I had a few folks came along and said, hey, this is how you do it. This is how you interact with that community. And hey, there actually is a community. and basically pointing people to the path, the yellow brick road in the middle of the wonderful land of Oz, and saying, hey, this is here.
Yeah, that is interesting, because my experience was a different direction. I came in to watch when I first came in because I had a friend, pastor down the road, who was always telling me about what he was doing in VR space and streaming on Twitch. And so I decided to go watch him. And then I spent time watching and observing lots of streams long before I ever went live myself. So the different direction of starting as a solo and waiting for people to come and find you, or going and finding lots of other people and then letting them know you're going live, and how that interacts and change. But yeah, some of the people that have been on this space long before me, and I've been on about 5 years, the people talk about, the tags weren't there. It was hard to find people, but the community, I think one of the things that people don't necessarily get when they go to other platforms, and they just throw Twitch in with social media.
Yeah.
People aren't going on Twitch to scroll. They're going on Twitch to find a community to hang out with for a length of time that the streamer is live. And depending on what you're streaming, they might stay and be drawn because of what you're streaming. They might be drawn because of you as the streamer. They might be drawn because other people in the community are there that they can chat with. There's lots of things to draw them, but it is the being live with other people that draws them in to hang out, not just content that you just scroll and scroll and scroll and consume. It's more relational in that way.
Yeah, and I honestly, I was watching a YouTube video yesterday, just talking about that endless scroll is kind of that brain rot chemistry, just kind of constantly scrolling. And I get caught in it too. And Twitch has been a bit of a safe space for that, for me, because I can come and I can simply lurk in somebody's channel, but I'm not simply sitting there scrolling, and interact with people as much as I have the ability to do so at that particular moment. So it does give me a little bit of a reprieve from that as well. And yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely the reprieve from just all kinds of things you have to consume. It is a whole different layer of how do you interact with people. I was not expecting the community aspects of it when I got on, but that's definitely one of the things why I've spent lots of time on here, and I plan to spend more time on here. And there's people you watch and you're like, oh, well, now life changes happened for them. They're on at a different time than I am, or life change happened for me and I can't watch them anymore. And you lose some of those, but we do have community that exists outside of live streaming too, within Discord and other communities. You were mentioning that earlier. When did you decide that you needed to establish a community for people who were coming to watch you, that you needed to find a way to stay connected with them?
I think that shift actually kind of happened as soon as I actually started, honestly, as soon as I bought my computer and I started setting it all up, and actually streaming from something other than my Xbox, I started doing that, building that community at that point. Because then I started seeing the same people coming in. I was like, oh, wait a second. If I want to connect with those people and continually have that relationship, then I need to, thank you, by the way, Hobo Bob, I need to actually have something more there for them. More than just me, And I think, that's the thing I think a lot of people don't get is that in terms of streaming, there is that initial, you unless you click the go live button, nobody's going to see you. Unless you click the go live button, you don't exist. And after that, I was like, well, I need a way to connect. And if I go into other people's streams, then I'm connecting and they see my name and they're like, oh yeah, I remember that person. So there is, and I'm really bad about, because I have 3 kids, I run a business, I, from home, and I do Ren fairs on the weekends. So my whole being is when do I have time? When do I have time to go in and just chill out and hang out in other people's streams? And that is a big balancing act that I'm still trying to figure out. Oh, thank you, Sassy. Anyway, so that is that for me. But here's the thing: I am not new to the online space. I am kind of a veteran, if you will. The beard makes me look older than I am. I'll be honest. But I use.
That's why I don't have one usually.
Yeah,
my wife doesn't, because it does make you look older.
My wife won't let me shave mine, so it's the other way around.
It usually goes. It's one way or the other. It's I don't know you without the beard, or I don't like the beard. The beard is weird. So
yeah. My wife, I tell her she doesn't like my face, so she makes me grow a beard. The real reason is it's become a bit of a brand, and it's become, because I do Ren fairs, it became kind of part of my ongoing garb. I got the long hair too. I mean, it's all there. I basically look like a lion in the mornings until I comb it all out. But how do we get on that subject? Anyway, so I'm not new to the online space. I actually used to be a channel editor and a professional blogger at one point with a big blogging network called B5 Media way back in the day. And I managed other writers, and we would write. And I'd go in and I'd make sure everybody was writing. If you ever heard of Darren Rouse and ProBlogger.net or Digital Photography School, Digital Photography School was actually in my channels. That was one of the blogs I wrote. I managed, rather, and he was one of the owners of the company. So definitely not new to online, social interaction like that. I think we were on the beta list for Twitter when it came out, and we're okay. So give you a little bit of background there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Well,
I forget what the question was.
Yeah, I'm always curious and just asking more follow up there. But yeah, like I think you did of the engagement with community and realizing it's there and joining into it and finding ways to connect. And then, you're talking a little bit about your online persona of how that developed, and then even some background that you had before coming to Twitch. I think that's one of the cool things on some level is those of us who are in the older camp who've done more things in life before jumping on and doing streaming is we bring a whole wealth of our life experience into that. So you're bringing blogging, you're bringing other digital things into streaming. What is your primary channels that you're streaming on? What is it you primarily stream when you go live?
Honestly, I get drawn to like aesthetically pleasing games, if you will, like ones that are full of immersion. Where all the stuff like all the hit markers and stuff like that kind of get out of the way and allow you to just kind of totally immerse yourself in it. So I do a lot of Sea of Thieves, Hunter Call of the Wild. In fact, I was streaming that a little earlier today, and I used to do a little bit of Minecraft, a little bit of different things. Funny enough, I actually just am in the middle of starting a podcast that I only just told folks about it yesterday, which is kind of more of a drama based podcast. And then my wife, let's see. So that's what I normally stream right there.
Yeah, and that's not an area that I spend a lot of time in over there. But I mean, I love that there's so much variety in so many categories because there's, probably right now 1 million people on Twitch watching. We only have a sliver of that watching us combined between our channels, and we're gonna not reach everybody because they're not looking for podcasts. They're not looking for Christian content. They're looking for other content. But going into those spaces and being present, what has been some of the best ways that you found of engaging people as you're online in a digital space that it's not created to be a place for missionaries to go? It's just a place for people to come and hang out and have friends.
Ask that one more time.
I'm kind of asking, like, what is your approach to building relationships in the space?
For me, is more that's a weird question for me because I don't know if I really have an approach as much as is just being authentic.
Yeah.
For me, it's like if I go live and I'm playing a game and somebody pops in, I don't know where they're at in their life. I don't know what they're experiencing or what they're doing, but they came for the game and they came just to be seen. And I think to some degree, everybody has that one little element of their life that says, hey, I mean, look at the cemeteries. People put up these monuments, like I was here. They scroll it on the walls. I was here, and I think people just want to be recognized more than anything. That they exist. That they are valued, and for me, I'm very much invested in my chat. Like I'm sitting here reading everybody's chat as they come up here, and I get distracted by that very easily. But anyway. Being able to interact with people, say, hey, you're loved. I care about you. To me, that's invaluable. And just that connection alone, when somebody's name pops up there and says, hey, how's it going? Being able to say, hey, what's up, comfy hobbit? Uh-oh, you're getting a raid.
I'm getting a raid. I'm getting a raid right now. So
go ahead and welcome everybody.
Let me welcome everybody coming in. So welcome in One Reason. Thank you for coming over here. Shelly Thunda, T. Cooper, Jazzy Mimi. Welcome. Who else we got? Mickey Escape, or is that Mikey Escape? I'm never good with the letters and how to pronounce them all. So welcome in. Jordan Williams Gaming, good to see you. And anyone else coming in?
I'm Fatbeard, just followed.
Oh, I'm Fatbeard. Thank you for the follow, friend. I know some of you might be following me on my other channel, Flat Cap Dapper Pastor, but this is where I do podcasts over here. One reason has been here before. Loved having you on. Thank you, friend, for bringing over your community. T. Crosby, welcome in. Sit back, relax, enjoy the conversation. If you're just here to join us and share the love and you've got other places to be, no one understand that. Thank
Mickey
you for
Escape 9 just
joining
followed.
us. Thank you, Escape. Maybe I'll just call you Escape because I can pronounce that part and get it right. Escape 9, welcome in, and thank you for the follow, everybody. So now I'm going to see, like you're talking about getting distracted by chat. I do the same thing. So if you want to address chat as we're going, that is totally all good with me. Sometimes, like I've had the conversation get so intense on chat that I totally lose my track of what we're going with the conversation. And other times the chat is just like, boom, right, spot on, encouraging and adding to what we're doing. So yeah, that interaction and engagement, like I was talking earlier, is not on other platforms in the same way. Even when you're going live, it's not the same culture. People don't have the expectations of being able to participate. And when they do, sometimes the streamer doesn't know that. They don't have that skill level to do that. They don't know the expectation of it. Or if you're doing podcasts, I know sometimes people are like, well, we're doing the podcast. You just chat among yourselves and we're over here. But I am whatever we decide today, if we're going to enjoy chat, we're going to engage, or know our conversation's too intense, we just do whatever we feel like. There's no rules here. It's all good.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw Fatbeard popped up in chat. I think I was playing Sea of Thieves and he popped in, and I think when he popped in, he actually started streaming Sea of Thieves on Twitch, and connecting with me. I think prior to that, he had been mainly on YouTube. And now he's surpassed me in numbers and all that. And there's a little rivalry there. No, there isn't. Not at all. But that is one of the things that pops up, in streaming is people have this inner concept of rivalry. I don't. Like, hey, your numbers are doing this, and I think pastors do this as well. Like, how many people do you have in your congregation? How many followers you got? And it's like, this is the measure of your success. What is the measure of your success? And to me, that's not it. For me, it's like, who have I connected with today? Who have I seen in chat? Who have I if it's one or two people, that's great. And to me, that's what keeps me going. I deal with a lot of anxiety, so hitting that go live button is very hard. And if I take a break off, it's even harder. If I take a week off, 2 months off, and I hit that go live button, it's very hard to do. So,
do you have a good assessment of why that is hard for you, that anxiety that's there?
I have theories. My wife has more theories, and hers are probably more correct than mine. But it's simply, I think it's just a nervous energy, if you will, about being able that you're putting yourself out there. And especially if you are trying to be authentic, when you are going through a hard time, it's going to come out. When you're going through something that is, this morning, this is the second day of school for my kids. We're getting up, we're trying to get everything made, breakfast made. I'm up there making scrambled eggs, and, the dog acts up, and you're like, okay, come on. All that stuff comes together, and you say, you know what, I got to present. And to some degree, you have to put some of that on the back burner and say, okay, people don't really, I want to interact with you. I want to talk to you. And at the same time, I want to be authentic that this is stuff that's going on with me. And finding that balance between the two of how much do I share, and while at the same time being authentic is a constant struggle. And I think for me, a lot of that anxiety is around that. Because I know for myself, I'm kind of as things happen in chat, and as I talk to people in chat, I kind of go off the rails too. I go off the rails right along with them. And I unintentionally start talking about things that was like, how did we get here? Why are we talking about, where does imitation vanilla come from? And why did you bring that up?
And why don't we just use real vanilla? Because it's amazing. And by the way, I usually go to Mexico when every other year, whatever I get to, and I bring liters back, not one vial. I bring back the good stuff. And then when I'm almost out, it's like it's time to make another trip to go get some. Now, I'm closer to Canada than Mexico, so it's not like I just get in the car and drive. It's a planned trip. Like it's just that, like you just mentioned one thing, and so then I just take it and I just go in that direction because you can, and you can have fun with that, and you can be real. And I think it's those unplanned things for me that just find joy of connection between other people that go, yeah, I know something about you that maybe other people don't. We connected over something that we both enjoy, or we both were, opposed to something. We both find ourselves disliking the same team. So then we can be friends if we dislike the same things that other people do.
And honestly, that's where it is. Everybody is looking for a connection point somewhere. And,
Yep.
Whether or not they know it or not, the moment you say, hey, this one thing, now we have a connection point, whether it's coffee. And I think that's why people get so addicted to coffee is they're like, I could talk about the dark roast, and they're like, oh, I have a favorite brand. I have a favorite thing I do with coffee, and it's like, now we have a connection point. Weather, why do we talk about the weather? Because it's the most generalized connection point we can have.
It's also non-threatening.
Yeah.
To talk about weather. Everybody can have an opinion about weather, and it really doesn't matter because we have no control over the weather. So we can talk about it. It's relevant to today. It's relevant to tomorrow. It will never be a point where it's not relevant. It's also, unless there's a storm or other things coming, not serious of like impacting the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So your opinion of whether you like cold and you like snow, or you're like, no, man, I don't ever want to see it in my life. Okay, good for you. We won't hang out a snowmobile if you like snow. I really don't snowmobile. I'm just throwing that out there. Or if you're like, no, man, I want sunny beaches. Like, yeah, let's go hang out at sunny beaches. Everyone's got their preference, and that part's okay. It's weird how that is something that we can be okay with everybody's preference, but so many other things in life, if you disagree with me, there's a problem.
Yeah.
You're different than me. I don't want to hang out with you. I don't want you to be a part of what I'm doing. Or like you were talking earlier, seeing rivalry is so easy to find. I wonder at times too, if like you're talking numbers and rivalry, if all of that at times does play into, I don't know if I'm going to go live today. When you start looking at your own numbers, when you start looking at, am I making a difference in someone's life? It becomes a barrier to going. But one of the things when I was doing drama ministry and people would talk about having anxiety, or before, we're going to go in worship and we're going to go, and they're nervous and all that. I always equated it to, if you weren't nervous, you didn't have anxiety, that would be a problem for me, because that means you don't care about what you're doing. And so I tend to at times for myself, no, oh man, I don't have it to bring today. Should I go live? Because I'm not ready to give of myself today. And
you know what? Like that is where true broken, like that brokenness comes through. And I have to remind myself, if I'm scared to hit that go live, that means I probably should.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And one of the funny things, I made mention of this a while back, that we play video games, right? And if you're taking fire, that always means you're going in the right direction. If you're taking fire from the enemy, that means you're going in the right direction. Like I remember when I played Halo way back in the day with my wife, and we'd go on campaign mode, and then I was always the guy that was like trying to find a way outside of the map. And suddenly nobody's firing at me. Yes. I could take the Banshee up to the top, and hey, I'm outside where it's all just polygons, and that was me. I was always trying to find the way out, and like it was a escape room of some sort. But when I'd start taking fire again, I'm like, okay, I'm going in the right direction yet again. But I've translated that at least over to like my spiritual life as well, is that if I'm taking fire from the enemy, I am going in the right direction and I need to keep going because there's something that it's, he's trying to keep me from, and maybe sometimes it's God allowing that to grow me. And sometimes it is, can I repeat that, Comfy? Yeah, if you are taking fire, that means you're going in the right direction. That's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, that is good. I hadn't thought about that before. And that's interesting, equating the way that you play a video game to, hey, does this say something about how I do ministry and how I do life? And the way I play video games, which I'm usually doing RPGs, is do as many side quests as I can so that I am above the level that I need to advance the main quest so that the main quest is easy. And I love wearing lots of hats and being involved in lots of ministries and doing all kinds of things. And there's a part at times where it's like, well, what's the main thing you're supposed to be doing? I don't know, but I'm having fun with all the things I'm doing. So I'm not really sure what the main thing is. And at times it shifts and changes, and that's why sometimes it's hard to know. Yeah. Right now, it's become a lot more clear in the last year, and it is digital ministry, digital missionary. That's where I'm supposed to be. And then there's all the different ways of, well, how do I do that in the space? And like a year ago, I wasn't doing this podcast. I had no plans to do this podcast. And then it became, okay, I'm going to focus on, I'm working with the Church Digital, going to focus on gaming. How do we elevate? How do we promote? How do we bring this to the church? How do we bring this to people that need to know there are Christians in a space that we need to be praying for? There are people in the space, and you could do the same thing if you're feeling called to it, and go to your church and share with them and whatever. I was like, I know a lot of people, and I like to talk to people. Okay, so because a lot of the podcasts I listen to are all like, they're teaching me something I don't know. That's what I enjoy, is learning. So all the podcasts I listen to are people teaching me something I don't know. That's primarily the thing. I mean, I do like people gabbing for no reason. Those are fun, but it's more of, what am I bringing? It was finally when it came down to, I can just highlight friends who are on mission and share their heart and help them share what God's doing. It's like, oh, I got a place. I got a voice. I can connect and be able to do that. So, yeah, finding that one thing is sometimes not the easiest thing to do, of what is the quest that you're on.
Yeah. And honestly, like, definitely anybody, if you watch a streamer, pray for him. Like, I'll be honest, pray for them, because they are probably doing, like, the things that they are working on, the things that are happening behind the scenes. They got a family. They're trying to hit that go live button every day or as often as they can. Pray for them, because that connection point that you found with them is the one that other people might find as well. And we're called to be salt and light. And salt in the shaker doesn't do any good. And I think the church is a good example of salt that likes to stay in the shaker a lot of the time, rather than being sprinkled about and giving a little bit of flavor. And we don't have one room in our house that is just our light room, where all the lights are. It's spread out, to give a little darkness in different spots. And you got to make sure, and I think the church is as a whole, is not very good at spreading the light around, at putting it in the dark spots. And I think that's where digital ministry is very good at doing. And heck, and honestly, a lot of us streamers are trying to do that in other areas of our life as well. We're not really sure how to do it, and we're exploring. We're trying to figure it out. And because we're not all of us are called to go to a different country and, in Nigeria or wherever and do that. That's not our calling. Our calling is to be present for our families and to provide for our families and to share the gospel whenever and wherever we can. And that looks very different for everyone, because we all have different callings and different ministries.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I got to go back to that example there, because I love a good analogy to help people wrap their minds around something. You don't have all the lights in your house in one room. I'm like, whoa, what a weird thing. Like if you imagine walking into somebody's house for the first time, and there's no lights in the room. It's like, oh, we didn't put any lights in this room. That's okay. We've got them in another room. And you go to the next room, and there's no lights in the living room. There's no lights in the kitchen. There's no lights anywhere in the house except the bathroom, because they want to make sure that they can see really good when they're in the bathroom to see what they look like. So all the lights are in the bathroom. How ridiculous would you feel like walking into a house like this guy? There's something wrong with him. Why are all the lights, like, you really don't need to see yourself. Like, one light would be okay. How about a light in the kitchen so you could see that the food is cooked properly, or a light around the house when you're wandering through the dark to get to the bedroom and you don't trip over things? The light would be good. Yeah. What a great analogy. That also made me think too, like, let's take that a step further. What if the sun only was shining on Sunday and it didn't shine the rest of the week?
Oh yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I only turn on my lights once a week to conserve electric, you know. And the rest of the time, I just turn the breaker off.
Yeah.
Suffer.
Well, I've got most of my lights all on timers. I'm still working to get all of them. I haven't got all of them yet. That is one of those things. That's like, I want to make my life more convenient and all of that. In some ways, part of it is I like having my phone. I pull up and I can control everything. So I don't know what issue I have there really, but there's that sense of, I can see, I can know, I can have it all. But
you like the illusion of control? Is that it?
Yeah, I like the illusion of it. Well, part of it too is, I've got fish over here, so it's also a little bit of lazy. So I want the lights to turn on in the morning, but I don't want to have to walk downstairs and turn the light on. Mm-hmm. I also don't want to have to pull my phone out all the time or hit all the switches and turn everything off. So if I just program them all, then when I'm done streaming for the day, this whole room, everything just turns off. I don't have to do it. So there's an automation thing, but there is I can be far away. Like, I've got my heating on my phone as well. So I go on vacation, I turn off the heat, turn the air off. I'm in the airport before I get home. I turn it on so it's warm when I get home. You know, it's those kinds of things. But I think that also just goes back to the idea of why as a Christian would you want to have your light turned off all the time to conserve energy or electricity or whatever you want to equate it to? Conserve the Holy Spirit's power so that it gets used all at once when you turn all the lights on at once.
And what a way to limit God. I mean, in our own lives, we like it talks about in Scripture, you know, quenching the spirit. We can talk about that, but oftentimes we do that in our own lives, where we say, okay, in this moment, in this place, I'm going to turn on that light, if you will, and the rest of the time, I'm just going to turn it off. I don't want to conserve. I want to conserve my energy. It's like we have some kind of weird idea that. We can't be that person over here. We can't be that person over here. You know, I go to a Ren fair. I sit there and go, you know, I'm not going to be a Christian today. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna turn off that Christ side of my life and join into the festivities. You know, like I think wow, I can get into some really old songs here. This will date me. There's an old Petra song called Chameleon. It talks about you shine like. I have to look up the lyrics now. They were there a moment ago, where you basically change in every situation, you know, and I think a lot of folks do that, you know, unintentionally, and that's the thing is it's unintentional. They don't mean to. They just go into that and they think, okay, well, this is my persona over here and this is my persona over here, and they don't know that they're in a sense putting that on. And I struggle with that with my kids. You know, they go to school, and this is one reason why we brought them all home to do homeschooling, and suddenly their persona completely changes. I was like, okay, well, now we're having new issues, and we're like, okay, you're coming home. we're not doing that. You know, you're too easily influenced. And I think for us, you know, as streamers, we tend, you know, Twitch is a great place for influence. but it's also a really bad place for influence too. You can get
Right.
in some of the bad streams. You can get in there and suddenly everybody's cussing, and you're like, okay, like this is how I fit in, and suddenly you find yourself saying things that you wouldn't normally say. And
Well,
that,
and that's not always conscious to try to fit in.
no,
It
you just want to connect.
what you hear repeatedly going in is what you begin to say. So I mean, even just take it outside of the realm of cussing. If you and I lived in Texas for 5 years, I had to consciously not let y'all slip in there because I'm like, I don't know how long I'm staying here, and I'm not letting y'all slip in my vocabulary. But my kids who were younger and were surrounded daily by native Texans, I'm in seminary, so I'm not surrounded by native Texans. They're surrounded by native Texans. The y'alls were easy to adopt because it's what they heard. And so it became their vocabulary because of they were immersed in the culture that used that vocabulary. I'll give you an example of as I became a Twitch streamer. My sons had watched Twitch. My daughter had for years, and I just kind of go like, "Why are you watching people stream online? I don't get that. I don't understand."
Yeah,
and they're
just,
like, "Dad,
just play your own game.
Yeah, just play your own game." Well, I was always solo player anyway, so it didn't like to watch someone else play was like chance that I could be playing. So but I start using things like, "Oh man, this guy came in. There was these trolls coming in, and this dude was super sus." And they're like, "Dad, you use that properly. How did you know that? Like, dude, you're starting to sound like us. Like you're starting to be part of the culture." It's like, yeah, I didn't use it before because I didn't know how to use it and I wasn't there. And now that I'm immersed in some of the vocabulary, the languages, it becomes part of what I say because I'm there. And what we need is the salt and light to sprinkle in to the culture that's more prominent goodness
Yeah,
into there.
definitely.
And yeah.
In
But I still don't say y'all, just in case anyone wants to know. But I did pick up the phrase because I really like this fixin' to. I really like that phrase because it means absolutely nothing. I mean, I'm fixing to go to the store. It could be 3 days from now that you're going to go, but I'm fixing to. At some point when I decide to, I will absolutely go do that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. It means nothing.
You need to quit fixing to and get it done.
Yeah.
So a funny story on like the dialect things. I'm originally from in central Ohio. You can hear it in my voice. I live in East Tennessee though. Okay. So the way I got here, my wife, she was from Kentucky, and she moved up to Ohio when we had kids, and then we moved down to Kentucky. Took a job at a church, and then then we moved back up to northern Kentucky, then back down to East Tennessee. With each child, we moved one state south, and we're done. We're no more kids. We're stuck in Tennessee. But when we first got married, whenever she would get mad at me, her southern dialect would come out, and whenever she got mad at me, and that was fairly often. So when I moved to Kentucky, to southern, or I guess western Kentucky, I thought everybody was mad at me for the first 6 months. Yeah. I'd go through the drive-through, and that southern dialect would come out, and I'd be like, "Oh, are they upset?" And everybody wanted to talk to me. And I was used to Ohio, where nobody wanted to talk to you. You go through the drive-through, they say, "Just get going," like, "Here's your food." They throw it out the window at you. And then I moved to Kentucky, and they're like, they want to have a conversation, and I'm like, "This is weird. This is not cool. You're having a conversation, and I feel like you're mad at me. I just want to go. Give me my food."
Oh, that's super funny. Moving from Michigan to Texas, and Michigan, we are very direct with people when we're upset, and we just talk in a stern tone.
Yes.
And my Texas did not understand that, and I would be just trying to show you this is irritating to me, and my wife would be like, "Dude, calm down." I'm like, "I am calm. I'm not outrageous at all." "No, you're scaring the poor woman over there because you're direct, and Texas is not direct with things. When you're like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to beat around the bush when I'm upset. Why would I waste my time doing that?"
Exactly.
Wait a minute. I'm in a different culture. I need to learn and know the culture and adapt to it. And yeah, so there's always those learning curves when you go into a new culture. But to back up to something you said earlier of when you go live, of being authentic, it made me think of Paul when he's talking about, when I am weak, then I am strong. And I think on some level, I don't know what to label it, but we need to copy the church down the road because that church has numbers, so that church is successful. How is that church successful? They present everything as success. So we have to hide everything that's not success and not be real and genuine, has crept in such a way that we doubt our ability to be weak, to be strong. Because most of the time when we're in church, if you're going to be on stage and sing, you have to be an excellent singer. We don't let you up there if you're not an excellent singer. And I like every time I would encourage my leadership to say, hey, let's let this person share and preach. Well, they haven't had training. Right. So they have a testimony. They have something to share. They're not going to get better if they never get an opportunity. They do worry about theology or other stuff. Like, if they say anything wrong, we can correct it. It's not hard.
Yeah,
but if we never give them a chance,
this is the church. We can do that. We can talk to them. We can, like, why do we feel like we have to hide it? You know, because
I don't know. I feel incredibly fortunate because what I consider my home church, when I got newly married and was going to church with my wife, and really the church that led me into return into ministry, or to the thought that I could go into ministry. I had that as a kid and I thought it was taken away. That church had it's okay to try and make a mistake in worship attitude. And I didn't see that in a lot of places. It's okay to go try something and experiment. We were talking about that earlier. That's one of the things that's super exciting to me in digital spaces is, will this work? I don't know. Let's try. What if we do this? I don't know. Let's try. I mean, 4 years ago, when people kept saying, hey, when are you going to go live? When are you going to play games? And I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to play games. Well, you got to do something. You need to go live. We're tired of waiting for you to start streaming. Okay, I'll do my sermon prep on stream. Yeah, that seems like the logical thing to do on a gaming platform. Let's do sermon prep because everybody's just been waiting for that to go.
Yeah, you're really going to upset the balance and bring something new to the space, right?
Yeah, it's like, okay, we'll try this. I don't know if it's gonna work, and here I am, 4 years later, and I'm reading the Bible Monday through Friday on stream, that on a gaming platform.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not just the Christians that show up. It's all kinds of people show up to the space.
Yeah. And you got the trolls right along with them. But the cool thing is, I almost pray for the trolls anymore. Like, I pray for that they come in, because it shows, in a sense that every time one comes in, and they drop their link or they throw something at you, it's just one more experience that you can say, you know what, I'm doing the right thing. I'm taking more fire. I'm going in the right direction. So to go back to that particular analogy.
Oh yeah. And you were talking about going live and sharing your vulnerability and all of that is not an easy thing to do. But what I have usually seen when you do that is, if you become vulnerable, then the chat responds with care and compassion. And also there's someone else that now knows that, hey, I don't have to pretend that my life is all good. If the streamer I'm watching is vulnerable, I am in a safe place to be able to share my own vulnerability and my own struggle and all of those kinds of things that are happening in my own life.
Yeah, and their walls come down just as much as yours. And like, it's always better to have somebody to cry with, rather than crying by yourself. And just being available, and by clicking that go live, that's one way to be available. You have your Discords, you have your your chats. You have the people that you connect with even outside of stream that you can call up on the phone and say, hey, I'm going through a rough time. All of those are there for you. All those are options for you. But the end goal is that we're through it all, lifting up the name of Christ, because that's where real joy comes from. That's where that's the connection point above all connection points. That's the one area where, as we were all created, in His image, and as we go through our lives and as we interact with others, if that doesn't come through, then we're doing it wrong. If we're trying to put up a front and kind of hide that, it's, that's not what we're called to do. So, I would as digital space is an amazing opportunity for those who see it. And it's a terrible opportunity for those who try to use it for their own ends too.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta say, so thinking about that, do you have a couple of stories of things that have happened with people in your community where life change has happened for them, or you were able to meet them in their time of need? Anything along those lines that just stands out that maybe would be a powerful testimony?
Trying to think. I know, a buddy of mine, he actually commented yesterday on stream, actually, J Freak. I mentioned him, where he had went through different things, where his mother had died a few years ago, and for me, being able to talk with him through that, and have those interactions while he was going through that, it probably helped me more than him. Because it was just like being able to be there for another friend, and we had met through an online space, and I could call him up and say, hey, here, I want to send you something, and be able to send that to him. Had somebody else, I started doing this. I don't know if you know, what I do in my day job, so to speak. My day job is I'm a wood engraver. I do laser engraving, and I go to Ren fairs and I sell it. So I'm a full-time vendor. So oftentimes
I've got one of your pieces.
Oh, do you really?
It's probably around here somewhere. Yeah. From Reach Conference last year.
Oh, you got one of the little magnets, right?
Yeah, I've got one of the little magnets, but I more use it like a coaster.
Yeah.
I thought I had it sitting here. I must have moved it.
So, I've occasionally, if I see somebody has lost a pet or something like that, I'll do a wood engraving of their pet, and I'll message them and say, hey, I want to send that to you. It's funny. A lot of times it's just the simple little interactions that say, I care, you're loved, and I want the best for you. Those kind of things speak volumes, not just to me, but to other folks as well. So I have more connections like that. I don't have any big, testimony things that I can share specifically, but I have a lot of little ones, little connection points like that.
Yeah. Well, little ones. Sometimes, you just need a whole bunch of little ones in order to change the direction of someone's life, and you don't know when that little interaction, that little connection is going to make a big difference for them.
Yeah. I mean, so here I'll change the topic just a little bit. I know for myself, my first calling into ministry was actually when I was in youth group. I was about 13 years old, and I had been, kind of nominally a Christian since I was 3 years old. And it was a lot of it was connected to my dad. My dad had got out of prison. He had actually accepted Christ in prison through the Gideons. When he got out of prison, he took me up to a ministry, inner city mission called Jesus People USA. It was in Chicago. So I was there for the very first Cornerstone Music Festival in 1984. I was there. I was 3. And we were there for about 6 months. And I'll preface this also with the fact that I think a lot of people have been hurt by the church, and I will tell you, I'm one of them. Okay. But I keep coming back because it's where, it's not it's a hospital for the broken. That's what the church is. And that means there's a lot of broken people in it. And that means there's going to be a lot of hurt. And it's going to be a place where hurt also happens occasionally. It's not supposed to, but sometimes it does. And we left there because I was being, they had a Christian school there, and they would spank the kids, and they would do it a little harder than they should. Let's be honest. And we left there through that experience. I was 3. And we came back. My dad swore off church. He's like, I don't want to ever go back to church ever again. And I started going to elementary school. I remember even I wanted to, like, the school was going to read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. My dad was like, no, we're not going to read that. It has witches in it and stuff like that. I was like, now I look back and I'm like, well, you had no idea what you're talking about. But anyway.
Right. Yeah, it had witch in the name, so we certainly can't read that.
Yeah, exactly. So he had kind of that legalistic perspective, but because of where he had been from, okay, and what he had experienced. And I would walk to school. My school was right across the street from me. We lived in this little apartment complex. And the quickest way to get to the school was, to cross the busy street. Okay. And I could walk, a block down that way, and there's a crossing guard. Oh, yeah. I could go down to the crossing guard. And I chose not to do that most of the time. Till the crossing guard looked at me and said, you are going to get yourself killed. And she said, come on down here. And she was very nice about it. She invited me. And this is weird because it was like, don't get killed. A very, very simple thing for a kid to understand. Don't get killed, And after several times of almost getting smacked by cars on a 4-lane road where everybody went fast, she said, come on down here. Now, what I didn't know is that the crossing guard was the local pastor's wife of the Nazarene church. And as I got to know her, she invited me to VBS. And I was like, well, we've been to church before. We've kind of done that, and we haven't done that for a while now. And there's reasons. And so she invited me, and I thought, okay, let's go. And my dad was like, she actually cares about my son. What a change, That's what he had experienced, was somebody who didn't care. And we went down there, and I started crossing at that crossing guard. We went to VBS. My dad fell in love with the choir director, and she became my stepmom. And so, like, it's funny how things happen along the way that lead you back to where God wants you. And it could be little things, just somebody saying, hey, I care about your kid. Come on down here. We're in cross at the right spot. But my actual calling into ministry was 3 years after my stepmom and my dad got married. Like I said, he had served in prison. And while there, he had, we didn't know it at the time, but he had contracted HIV and AIDS. And the night we found out he had AIDS was my calling into ministry. I didn't know who to call. I called my youth pastor up, and while on the call with him, I as audibly as I hear you today, and your audio is not acting up now, was that this is what I want you to do with your life. I want you to speak and my words, and that was my initial calling into ministry. And a lot of things have happened since, but God keeps calling me back to that. Is share the love of Christ.
Yeah, that's fantastic. But yeah, you're talking about all your journey. Your journey is a fantastic journey, even if the moments of your journey are filled with sorrow and strife and all. So yes, I don't know very many people that I've had conversations with that don't say they've had some sort of church hurt in some ways. Yeah, we have. But it's a difference of realizing that hurt people, very easily. And like you were saying, is if the church is for people who are hurting, then they're going to end up hurting each other, sometimes intentionally, but most often unintentionally. As they're trying to protect themselves or others around them, they hurt others. And that's unfortunately the way it is. But you were saying that, and I don't think I'd thought about this before when you were making that comparison and then talking about hospitals. Well, I don't avoid going to hospitals just because I might catch an infection in the hospital, unless I know it's rapidly happening in that hospital. My wife happens to work in healthcare, so I know how to go evaluate and see, what is the prevalence of secondary infections in this hospital? What's their rate? And should I trust this one or not? I mean, I know how to evaluate that the same way I can evaluate that of a church. Is this church hurting and sending people away? Probably not a good space for me. Is this church welcoming people that are strangers? Maybe it's an okay place for me to go. And then depending upon where your hurt is, well, I can go in when I need the ER, but I'm not going in for anything elective right now. Because my body isn't physically able to. Well, spiritually, I might be able to go in for special events, but my body's not ready spiritually to go to a weekly service. I don't think we give enough people that kind of credibility when they've been hurt. And it sounds like in your story, there was a piece of hurt and then a time gap, and then the ability to start to have some mending and slow pathway back into connection with God, an invitation with people that we're going to care and love. That's just beautiful.
Yeah, and there's a song, and this is a silly song in a way, but and I'm just thinking, God, it talks about God bless the broken road. I don't know if you remember that song.
Yeah,
but
I remember that.
I think we all have a broken road if we admit that to ourselves. And the funny thing is that God uses the brokenness more than you know, through its little things that happen along the way, things that happen in ministry, things that happen, heck, even in streams sometimes. There are moments of brokenness all along the way where God is steadily changing you and, in a sense, whittling you away into what He wants for you. He's still a creator, and He's still creating with you. Like the old Sunday school, He's still working on me. Yeah, that's a hurting process.
Oh, yeah. I haven't heard that one in a long time. He's still working on me. Oh, man, that's a good song. I don't remember much after the chorus, but...
Yeah. Took him just a week to make the moon and stars, I think that's how it goes, something on those lines.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. And Jupiter and Mars, I think, is in there.
Oh, too. Yeah, Jupiter and Mars, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, out in the Milky Way past Jupiter and Mars or something. I don't know. Somebody will know it. They'll just type it all in the chat. And or now we got it stuck in somebody's head, it'll be there the rest of the day.
Exactly, yeah. They're going to hear, singing vegetables sing it in their sleep tonight. I hope you do.
Oh, well, I am always thrilled by the journey that God puts you on and where it ends up and how you go but if you hadn't been on that journey and you weren't where you are now, how would you reach the people that are coming to your stream? It would be really hard to do that.
Yeah,
it would be difficult.
In all of those little points of brokenness, and let's put it this way. I'm trying to think of the best analogy here is that we were talking about those connection points, and I think oftentimes the points of brokenness are the connection points that God has planted in our lives, where we can connect with others. And if I hadn't had some of those experiences, if I hadn't had, the things that have happened to me, I wouldn't be able to connect with, other kids who have been through abuse situations. I wouldn't be able to connect with other people who have had issues with their parents and having to deal with their parents dying. I wouldn't have, like I go to Ren fairs. I've shared this, where we actually have these signs that we take. There are all kinds of different things.
Go ahead, take some time, talk about what you do with Ren Fair Ministry and all of that. I mean, I know we're talking about podcasting, but I'm one of those that's like, I am partially digital. And lots immersed in digital, but God's not done being in physical space and ministering to people in physical space. He's got avenues where I do that. So yeah, share it because it's part of who you are.
Yeah, I'm a geek through and through. I'm going to just be very honest with that. You know, I am always reading something. But we do, my wife is the same way. We love to read. All of our kids have literary names, to give you an example. And, oh, yeah, Pap Steelson, come see me at Ohio Ren. I hope to see you there. So anyway, we got into it during 2020. We were in the middle of the pandemic, and I got bored. I had been working from home for about 10 years for Apple, and I was like, I need to do something creative. I need to do something with my hands. I need to get outside of the silly house. And we got us like a little, glow forge. Apparently the ads worked on me. And I was like, I got to figure out some way to do this. I'm always looking at something new and thinking, okay, I can do something with this. But little do I know how much God is wanting to do through it. He's planted that in my heart where I'm like always looking at things, and then he figures out how he can use it. It's weird. But anyway, and we did a craft show. We just like made a bunch of stuff. We went to this little craft show, and we sold out. And I was like, uh-oh. And we have to make more stuff. Like, I love this making thing. I love making things with my hands. Why have I never done this before? And I had always done art, drawing, picking up pencil. I used to do a lot of ink wash stuff. And my wife, she used to be a charcoal artist. She did a lot of charcoal drawings. And I was like, okay, well, now this is a thing. We're going to do this. And we found out we had a little local medieval festival. And we thought, you know what? I bet we could like get in there as vendors, and we could go and just dress up and go to the Ren Fair and just be there the whole time and have a booth, and maybe we can sell some of our stuff. And we went and we did it. I remember the first time we loaded up all these different signs we made. They were quotes from books and a lot of Lord of the Rings references. We have our middle daughter's named Eowyn, to give you an idea of one of the literary names in our family. And we had all this stuff, and people would come in, and we'd have these signs, and we'd have scripture in there as well, different things about who we are. And I noticed that there's a common theme, of all these stories, and everybody's got a story to tell. But when we're drawn to stories, it's another connection point. And we made a conscious decision at that point. We were going to make things to sell. We're not making things to sell. We are selling the things we make. That's a big difference.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
And when we did that, when people would come into our booth, we could talk about everything we made. We could say, yeah, hey, have you read this? Have you seen that? Have you checked that out? Have you, one of our early pieces was the Gospel of John. It was all 21 chapters on the Gospel of John. And we'd make this, and it was this huge piece of board. And it was one board. It had all 21 chapters on it. And people would come up there, and they'd look closer, and there's like, hey, there's words there. I was like, yeah. And if you check out right down here, there's like the writing on the cross. It's all capital letters that stood out. It's like, King of the Jews. This is Jesus, King of the Jews. And I'd have these connection points, and I talked to people about that, and they're like, oh, I used to go to church. And then it became like I have these conversations about my faith because they're bringing it up because they're seeing it in our booth. And I was like, wait a second, like God's going to use this one too, And as I made these different signs, and people would come in and we talk, and it would always come up. And as we continue doing that, now we're at big Ren Fairs. We're doing Ohio Ren Fair later this year. And then we also have a book release because we wrote a book. We wrote a children's book, my wife and I did. And we're doing a book release at Ohio Ren on September 6th. So if you want tickets and you want them at a discount, hit me up. I can get you in that day. And then we go down to South Carolina for a Ren Fair. We're going to go to Florida this year for a Ren Fair this next year. And God continues to expand the things that he can use. And it's amazing how he expands the things he can use More than like if you close off parts of your life, like my business is my business. It's amazing how they can flounder, but when God says, you know what, I can use that, it's amazing how He will expand it and turn it into something. And that's what He's done for us. And now I'm full time. I left the corporate job, and now we do Ren fairs. Like, if I was going to say to somebody, like, this is what God's going to use, it probably wouldn't be Ren fairs. Or it wouldn't be Comic Cons. I go to Comic Cons too. And because they're places that are notoriously anti-faith in a lot of ways. And now God's using it to be a light there. Romans actually came up for Ohio Ren Fair last year and helped me in the booth with Reach. I said, hey, come on up. And he came up, he flew up and went to the Ren Fair and helped me in the booth and sold stuff in my booth. And we had a good time. And I wouldn't have even imagined that God would have used that, but He is.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is how God can take something in you, begin to use it for ministry, that then inspires other people in ministry to do something else unique to how God has made them. And yeah, I resonate with the needed to do something with your hands. I have a lot of family members missing hands. I have had stitches on my hand many times. I knew I should not do things with my hands for a living. So I knew that. But every once in a while, when I'm just exhausted mentally, what I need is to do something with my hands that I can start and I can finish and I can accomplish. And it doesn't have to be something big. It just feels like, hey, look what I did. That your hands allows you to, like, the shelf unit over here. I made that. Not a big deal. That's not fancy. It's not anything.
Hey, it looks
just
good.
Serves a purpose. And I've got other things that I've done, and I've done more construction with decks and stuff. I am not a finished person as far as working goes. Like, you're going to do the fine details and crown molding. I hire that out. That's not me. You want the studs to go in, I can put studs in, and I can drywall, but you probably want to hire the guy to mud the drywall. I'll hang it and I'll do the electrical, but the finish work is not my skill set. But I still love that. Like you're saying, like the creative aspect of, I did this and I love that. I'm going to sell what I make. I'm not going to make things to sell. That's such a revelation to be able to apply in other areas of life. Why are you doing it? If you're just doing it to try to make money off of whatever it is you're doing, it becomes a chore to do.
Yeah. We started with no intention that this would be a full-time thing. None. Absolutely none. We were just like, we want to make cool things. There we go. We made cool things. Good for us. Yay. And that was the end of it. That was all there was to it. And we went to a show and it resonated with people and we connected with people, and then it became something else. And what a blessing.
Oh, totally. Totally. Have you ever thought about, and maybe you have, and I'm not aware of it, live streaming, doing the creative work of all the woodworking and stuff that you do?
Yeah, we actually, in our business, we actually do have a Twitch channel. We used to stream on there. The challenge is that all of the machines are very loud, like from the sanders to the lasers. Occasionally, I'll have the lasers up on stream. I used to do that a lot more. But there's a technical challenge there in I have all these like wireless microphones I bought, so I could do that in the workshop. But it's not very feasible to do on a regular basis. It takes about an hour to set up everything in order to do it correctly. And it's like, man, once I get in there, I can't interact with chat, and I'm like, I have to stop the sander and then talk to people. So I wish I could do more of that, but it's very challenging to do that.
Yeah, I thought I had seen you do that before, and I just thought, was that my is bad? But one of the things I've watched others do with that is if it's two spouses, who are involved, one is doing the work and the other is engaging chat. And then that person can share when there's a break, hey, this came up and that kind of thing. So I don't know if that works or not, but I get the whole technical, set it all up, make it work. If it's not on a regular schedule to do that, I also know, because I like doing the one-off. I'm gonna be power washing, so I'm gonna set up and actually do power wash on stream, not power wash simulator. No, I'm actually gonna power wash. There's a whole
IRL power wash simulator.
Right. IRL power wash, not simulator. I've done that on stream. I'm gonna set it up. I'm gonna do that. It's like, oh, that was a bunch of work. And you know, the other thing I'm doing, I could have been done power washing instead of explaining what I'm doing and talking to chat while I'm doing it. It takes a lot longer to accomplish the work sometimes. I'm not saying anything bad about it. It's just like sometimes you make the choice that the work needs done and you do the work. The same way with, I think, like, I loved bringing my kids along to help me do jobs. If I wanted the job done, I could have done those so much faster. Instead, it was like, all right, we'll work on it. We'll get as much done today as we can, as much as you're able to help and do that, so that you're learning along the way and those things. And I know my wife, that wasn't her forte. She would much rather just do it and get it done than take the time to go and teach someone else to be able to do it. But I love the bring somebody along with you aspect of things.
Yeah. In your relationship with your wife, who's the extrovert and who's the introvert? I'm curious.
Oh, I'm the extrovert. She's the introvert.
See, I'm the introvert and my wife's the extrovert, but she doesn't want to be on stream most of the time. She used to do a lot more on stream, and she's very comfortable and she's very natural at it. I am not. I have to work at it. and it's funny to me because like she's so much more of a natural with it than I am.
Well, over the years, the extrovert introvert in both of us has blurred quite a bit. So the job that she is in and her boss, who is awesome, keeps pushing her towards teaching and being in front of people. And so she has a skill set to be able to do it. She is very talented at it, but it drains her tremendously. Yeah. So she doesn't, she is very, I don't want to say meticulous isn't the right word. She's very, very thorough and intentional in the way she does things. And me, I'm off the cuff. So we have totally different personalities. But the interesting thing is preaching in pulpit for 20 plus years. I got done preaching on Sunday and all I wanted to do was hide from people. I don't want to talk to anybody for the next 24 hours. I need to escape, which is such a weird thing, because I can absolutely say before I started preaching on Sundays, I never had that thought in my life. I would have hung around for hours after the service. If somebody was talking, I would talk. I mean, that would energize me. And I knew that was happening. Actually, streaming has got my energy, excitement of talking to people back that ministry was taking away from me, which is a weird thing to think about.
For me, when I used to preach on a weekly basis, I almost likened it to every week climbing a large hill and then base jumping off of it. Like that was the equivalent. Like I trudge along, I can just walk up this hill, like I'm hiking. Some weeks were harder than others, and even my sermon prep, and then I'd jump. And then for the next 2 days after that, I'm laying on the ground wondering, why did I do this? Why am I so drained? Why am I stuck on the bottom of this floor trying to figure out, should I climb up this hill again? Should I do it?
Yeah.
And it was such a drain for me. But that I realized that's part of my brokenness, where I have to say, you know what? Like, yeah, it is draining. It is, it is work, and it is something, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And streaming isn't like that for me. I have that initial before I hit the go live button, where I'm jumping off the cliff. But then after that, it's like, okay, we're good, we're here, and then it's just being connecting.
Yeah, I'll tell you the interesting thing for me with streaming is man, I had thorough training on how to preach a sermon, and I had such joy in crafting it. I had such joy in delivering it and all of that. And now that I'm online all the time and engaging people, and it's not, let me give you a 40-minute monologue, and then you can tell me at the end if it was good or not. I go preach, and it's like, wait a minute, nobody's interrupting me. Nobody's asking me questions. Nobody's putting emojis in the chat that they're in agreement with it. Like, I mean, oh my goodness. Like, I just preach yesterday or Sunday. I'll be preaching again this week. I do some pulpit supply, and it was like, okay, I get head nods, and that's about as good as I get. Or I tell something funny and I get laughter, and it's like, okay, but I don't know if you're really resonating with this.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just politeness. I don't know if that's just cultural. This is what we do, or are you going to walk away? That's made a difference in your life. Where on stream, it's so much easier to stop, have the conversation. I say one-on-one, but it's not truly one-on-one. It's the whole community with the focus on one person as it comes up in stream. And it's like, man, that is so much more powerful than a whole bunch of eyes on you, and you talk for 40 minutes and you don't know if anything changed, and people come up and shake your hand and say, great sermon. And I just want to go, what was great about it? What are you going to do different? How is it?
What was great about it?
What was great about it? Like, well, I mean, two levels. One, I want to know what you got out of it so that I know what you're, trying to do. But two, I want to know for myself, like, what part did I do or did God do through me that was good, so I can do more of that,
That's a dangerous question, I got you ever get that blank look?
Well received. Yeah, it's not well received when you ask that. I don't know. I just wanted to say that. Okay.
Thank you.
So you didn't really mean it. You just felt obligated to say something, and that's okay.
And in your humanness, you're like, okay, just shake my hand and go, leave.
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, there is that level. Well, and there's also too, and I think this is part of it too. It's the leading up to everything culminates on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
That after it's over, there's that exhaustion, like you're talking about jumping off of the cliff. The exhaustion of, I spent all this time and energy towards this. I gave everything I had, and now I don't know if it made a difference. And maybe when we go back to the salt and light analogy.
Yeah.
If I'm in stream every day and you might show up 3 out of the 5 days, maybe it's 2 out of the 5 days, I got to give you a little salt and a little light sprinkled throughout the week. And instead of, you're in a really dark world, I turn the lights on Sunday for an hour, and you're shocked by it. You don't know what to do with it, and then the lights are turned off.
Yeah,
and you don't get more.
You walk through the rest of the house, and there's no lights anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I guess it's easier for people to tune in to something that they can be passive about. But like in terms of streaming, and we have this ability, we're reaching into people's homes, we're reaching into people's phones, where they are, I know there's people in my chat, that are like, yep, I'm on the toilet, let me flush, like, okay, hold on, but they took that moment to simply tune in. It was passive, it was just the spur of the moment, but they tuned in and they said, oh, I need to have some kind of connection. And I love that. Well, at the same time, it's not intentional on their part, but it's intentional on mine. And that's all it takes, is one person to be intentional for that connection to happen, because the other person, we don't know where they're at. We don't know what they're going through. And church is one of those things, I love church. I love going to church. But I am a back row kind of guy. I'm probably not going to come up to you on a Sunday morning these days. I don't serve in the church in that way, but I am typically, on the back row. I might even have my phone out, like, who's live, and I've actually, I've been known to have my headphones on in church and listen to my friends preach while I'm at a church someplace. I'm bad that way. I'm sorry. I've had people call me out on it in the doors when I come in. They're like, why are you bringing headphones? I'm like, sorry. Not sorry.
Well, no, maybe it says something else about others and not as much about you, if that's something. And maybe it says something about the structure of the way that we do church that is that way. I don't like to rail against the Big C church
Yeah.
You know, it's a big organization. It's taken decades and centuries to be where it is, and it's going to take a long time for it to change.
Yeah.
I'm just more interested in helping the people that want to help change the lives of
Yeah.
other people get better at what they're doing
Yeah.
and find encouragement so they can continue to do the things God's calling them to, which are strange and different and unordinary, in the way that they want to go and be called by God. And I don't know if there's a way that you want to be called by God, but I love when people find out, and this was a revelation for me. You mean that thing I love, God can use it.
Yeah, exactly.
It seemed like growing up that you had to give up everything that you loved in order to follow God.
Yeah. And you forgot the fact that, you know, God created you because you're you. Like, he created you with your own particular set of gifts, your own particular set of abilities for a reason. And if we're just simply saying, like, let's throw out all those reasons, you know, and then you have to, you know, surrender all that and not be you. It's like, I think this is probably my fourth C.S. Lewis reference. He talks about how when we are surrender ourselves to our Creator, he makes us more of ourselves, because he's the one who designed us in the first place. He makes us more us. And while we get rid of all the, but it's not, you know, there's a lot of ways you can misinterpret that. I'm saying in the sense that there is a particular design that God has for you, and he's created you to fulfill that design, not you know, some alternate version of yourself that is how you've viewed yourself, because that might be broken, but who God has designed.
Yeah, and not you're a copy of somebody else's design.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So one of my favorite musicians who in the Christian world down through the years has been Steve Taylor. Often ostracized by churches and stuff like that for numerous reasons. But he wrote a song way back in the 80s, I Want to Be a Clone, and it was talking about, you know, going into church, you know, cleanliness is next to godliness, right? I'm glad they could show the way, because I could never know the way to serve him on my own. Like, there's a kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing that goes on through all that. And that's been one of my big influences throughout my life, is I keep coming back to these concepts of, you know, God's design is much better than my own. And it's always going to be much better than my own. And I might not see how it's going to come out. I don't, you know. And one of the reasons I've even taken this into my woodworking, because I love taking the old broken pieces, the things that nobody else would see. You know, like a broken piece of live edge wood that is all knotty and, you know, it's been out in the woods for years. Now I've thrown it in a kiln, we've dried it, and we've finished it out and engraved something beautiful on it, and now it's something worthwhile. And but the thing is, it was always worthwhile. Just nobody had found it yet. Nobody had picked it up and said, I want to use this. I want to take this and I'm going to make something amazing out of it. And I kind of liken that to us as people, is that, you know, God's picking us up out of the muck and the mire and the different places in our lives, and he's saying, you know what, you're worthwhile, and I'm going to invest in you, and I'm going to create something that nobody else saw coming. And I think oftentimes, you know, and I don't get me wrong, I love the church, and I often get accused of that, you know, in some regard or other. I love the church, but we often think that we have to have, like, somebody like the pastor's approval to do some ministry. And that is, I think a lot of pastors struggle with that as well. It's like, they get up there and like, why are you asking me? Go do it. Go do it. You know, start that singles ministry, start that youth group that we don't have. Start those things. We can't do it. You know, we can't, like, a lot of, most of the churches in America are 100 people or less. Majority are probably 20 people or less. We sit here on stream, you know, we might have 10. Yesterday I got rated and I had 120 people in my stream. I was like, whoa, you know, suddenly my platform grew, and I was like, in the matter of a few moments, and I was like, well, God, you know, like, let's share this. And what an opportunity we have, even in the church, to do new things that we often feel like we just need permission to do. We're giving you permission. Our permission's right there in Scripture. Go and do likewise. The Great Commission. Go ye therefore all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey all that I have commanded you. I am with you. And
yeah. Well, and if you go to the,
I'm going to start preaching if we go that way.
I'm gonna jump right in there with you. He's created some as apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers, so that the church can be fully equipped, not so that the pastor can be fully equipped.
Amen.
So that the church can be fully equipped. I've said this for a few years. I've been reluctant to share it too often on stream. I think I've shared it with one other person on stream because I don't want people to take it out of context. But the Reformation took the Bible out of the hands of the clergy and it put it in the hands of the people. And what we need is ministry to come out of the hands of the clergy and be put in the hands of the people. We need another Reformation. And God's already at work in the Reformation of doing that right now, because there are so many people being called in digital spaces, and they go to their church doesn't understand, or they go to their denomination doesn't know what to do, and they're not sure if it's real or not. Well, frankly, I mean, maybe this kind of started with the Jesus movement, and we didn't know what to do with people that were called to go to hippies, and they were called to go to, well, you don't know what to do with them. So they didn't have a spot. Well, there's just so many people right now that are tired of, I need to wait to have authority to do this when God is clearly calling me to do this. So I'm going to find someone who can be accountable to. Maybe it's not the full church, but I still have people I'm accountable to. I'm still talking to people. I'm still in relationship with people, but I'm going to go and be honest and do what God calls me to, no matter how crazy it sounds to everybody else around me. I'm going to go and do this. Who's doing that? Nobody. Are you going to make money at it? I don't think so. Well, then why are you going to do it? Because God said to. Why else would you do it?
Amen. Keep on going. Keep going.
Yeah. But at some point, like I said, I've had that thought in my mind for a while, and I don't know fully how to write it and express it so that the church would hear it.
Have you ever read any of Mike Yaconelli's books?
No, I don't think so.
Messy Spirituality. He was one of the founders of Youth Specialties, and he died a number of years ago. But he wrote a few books. One called Dangerous Wonder, and another one called Messy Spirituality. And between those, and then you can, I'll send you a link of one of his sermons. Yeah. I think my wife's calling me about something. Hold on, what's going on? She's holding a dog. Hold on, make sure. Yep. Anyway, I think she's holding a dog. Is that what I saw? Anyway, but between those books, it kind of shaped my perspective that, you don't have to have it all together. God's gonna take what you can give, and He's going to change it, and He's going to transform it, and your brokenness can be used. However you're broken, God's going to use it. And in the streaming space, we have this opportunity to explore that more than the finished performances that we see on Sunday morning so often. And I love that. And I think that the more we are real, the more we are authentic in our streams, when we connect with other people, the more we have those connection points in community. I love Reach for that particular example, because it brings all these people that are just in the trenches, doing it on a regular basis. I love that, because now we're not just doing it alone. Think how many sermons you've prepped by yourself. How many have just you and God? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
But what if you had, 20 other pastors that you could bounce that off of on a regular basis throughout the whole course of your week? It would transform your ministry, right?
Oh, yeah.
So why don't we do that? Well, now, that's what we're trying to do with Reach. That's what we're trying to do with online digital spaces, online churches. Now we're suddenly in community throughout the week, lifting each other up, loving on each other, and we're no longer just doing it alone. And
Yeah.
what a great opportunity we have.
Yeah, I am fortunate that I have had occasions where I would work with other pastors and we would work through sermon series, do that together. But those would be maybe once a year, or it would be with one pastor 1 year, and then it's 2-3 years, and then another pastor, and you're doing a Lent series together or an Advent series, and then that's it. You don't continuously engage each other with the process that you're doing. You're right. You all go off. You all do your separate thing. You all are in your separate churches. You're doing that. The camaraderie in the digital space is, we realize we need one another. We realize that there are others. We find encouragement and we find camaraderie and we find friendship there. It's just fantastic and amazing on that level. And Reach is a great example of that. Within the Church Digital, we're doing a bunch of stuff that's not gaming related as well. We're trying to help people wherever they are in being a digital missionary. So if you're a digital missionary, for instance, we have friends in Pakistan and some other closed countries that are physical missionaries who are realizing we need to spend time figuring out how to be digital because persecution is on the rise and we need to connect and stay connected and keep people safe. And how do we do this and mentor and disciple people that are new? They're turning to digital means to be able to do it. We're trying to help them and help them think through some of those things. And we've got people globally all over. So yeah, gaming is one piece of what the Church Digital is doing. And myself and a few others are connections there. But man, we're larger than that. We're more global than that. We've got conferences coming up all online because we're global. So how do you have everyone gather in one spot? It doesn't work so well. So yeah, we'll have 4 conferences coming up in the September and October of Reaching Your Digital Neighborhood, of Recovery Ministry. Our friends over in Europe will have a European one, and then we're doing, focused on gaming, and we'll have a gaming summit on October 8th. That's the one that people listening to this might be most excited about. Go to missionary.digital and sign up for that, and it's totally free. And if you can't make the date and time, sign up anyway, please, because you'll get the videos later. I know it's not the same, but it also takes and it shows that our sponsors who are covering the cost of us making it able for us to do this, they need to know that people are interested in this if we're going to do it again. So that's very valuable if you're able to do that.
It's missionary.digital. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to drop the link myself. I was going to check it out. You mentioned a little bit ago that you did some drama. I'm going to just backtrack to that. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like, what was your experience in drama? What did you do? And I know I'd reached out to you at one point about that anyway, so I was curious.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I say, when I was in elementary school, there wasn't lots of opportunities, but I was also always really incredibly good at memorizing lines and scripture. So I even remember a song from a play that I was in elementary school that's in French. Okay, because
are you going to sing it for us?
I knew if I said it, you were going to ask. Sur le pont d'Avignon, l'oni danse, sur le pont d'Avignon, l'oni danse tout au long. Now, somebody French is going to tell me my pronunciation is probably horrible, but it's on the bridge, Avignon. That's where we dance. That's where we dance. On the bridge, Avignon. That's where we dance all together. So it was in a play about Paul Revere, and I don't know why I had to learn a song in French. I have no idea whatever that was, but that was part of the play. So I always loved doing it. But I also always loved lots of things. So while I had some artistic abilities in that way, I was also very athletic. So I was over in wrestling and track and over there. So in high school, I didn't do a lot. And then when I got to college, between high school and college, I had surgery for a deviated septum. I'd probably had it since I was a kid. And if you don't know what that is, basically a broken nose, and then your cartilage grows, and then you can't breathe. Well, as soon as I had the surgery to repair that, I had sports-induced asthma, and I hyperventilated every time I tried to do any exercise. So I couldn't do any sports. So
you
then
had
I
overly
decided,
strong lungs. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, apparently,
Okay.
apparently overly strong lungs. So it was like I was oxygen deficient, and when my body got oxygen, it didn't know what to do with it. So, uh, so anyway, so then I end up in going into theater because it seemed like a fun thing to do. So we were doing, trying to remember which play was which. We did The Hobbit when I was a freshman, and so I was one of the dwarfs, and I helped work on building sets. I got to build Smaug and create and craft all of that, and do my lines, and then we did Robin Hood the next year, which is how I actually met my wife. Was in the theater. I was the constable who was a bumbling idiot, didn't know anything, and I had lots of comic relief lines, which to me that's the best part. Fun, throw out the dumb stuff, all of that. So you're not going to find me in a drama. More of the comedy stuff is where I enjoy. So I did that in college, acted a whole bunch of other places too, and then I was saying that God, well, my parents got divorced as part of the reason. So when I was 7 years old, I'm going to be a pastor. My parents got divorced when I was 12. My mom gets kicked out of the church we're going to. I'm like, all right, I can't go. I can't do this. I'm disqualified. My mom didn't go to church. You know, you're a teenage boy. You're not going to churches alone. Friends didn't invite me. If I had a girlfriend, I'd go, but, you know, didn't end up going. So I'm at a Curtis Eastman, or is it Eastman Curtis? I can't remember which way his name goes. Event, and I'm just feeling like, hey, you know, God's calling me, and he does this, not altar call, but he does a, hey, if God is speaking to you, come down here, we'll pray with you. Went down there, felt like God was calling me to do something. I get back from that event, I pick up the church bulletin, and it says, hey, we're looking for someone to take over the drama ministry of our church. And I just felt like that's what I'm supposed to do. So I went and talked to them, and I started doing it. And it was just like that. I can't believe I get to do something that I like and enjoy and get to do it for God. It just didn't match with my worldview of growing up in the church.
Yeah.
And so I got to start doing that. So I directed, and then I started rewriting because we didn't have capacity to have 5 people in a script or on microphones. So I had to rewrite everything for 3 people max. And then I found out it was easier to write it myself. So I started writing, and then I was also acting in it and directing and all of that stuff. And then I was growing a lot at that time and being fed by a whole bunch of other people that I listened to online and that. And then God called me to go to seminary, and I had to wrestle through. Am I called to do this, to do drama, or am I called to go back to what you were calling me at 7 years old? And it was, no, it's what the original call was. This was to help you heal and recover so that you can be used where I need you elsewhere. And then I have done often, I would do like Christmas Eve, I would do in character monologue for the sermon. So I would dress up and be whatever character, telling the story and doing that, and do that for a Christmas Eve thing. And so yeah, and theater runs in my wife, my kids were involved often. We love going to the theater. We love that kind of stuff and encouraging that. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things is like, I enjoy it, all of the creativeness of it, of the uniqueness of how you do the delivery of it. Yeah. I also often have a weird perspective. A lot of people say, oh, it was a horrible movie, bad acting. And I go, no, it was bad writing. It is either bad writing or bad directing. The actor can only work with the material they're given, and they can only deliver the way the director asks them to.
Yeah.
So
any other cut's going to be thrown out.
Yeah, right. It's a director or it's a writing problem way sooner than it's an acting problem. Now, if you have 2 people that can take the exact same material and you put them side by side and you can see one person can deliver it totally differently, that's different. Then you made a bad personnel choice when you cast. So still, I'm going to not put it on the actor, but that's me.
Yeah. They might be good at one thing, but bad at another thing entirely. Yeah, that's because of what I do. I go to a lot of comic cons as well, so I get to interact and talk to some of these actors. Ones I've seen in different things, and that's been really interesting as well. Is kind of that everyday person that you interact with isn't the person on the screen. It's a totally different person, and I love that because you go up to them and you talk to them and have these interesting conversations about the thing you saw them in last.
Yeah.
And I think let's see, who is it I saw recently? I met TJ Tyne. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He was in Bones. He played Jack Hodgins in Bones, if you've ever watched that show. Got to meet him at a recent Comic Con, and just interesting guy, and really made you feel listened to when you're talking with him. And then I've met some other ones that were just like, you could tell that they had other things going on in their life. I met Mark Pellegrino at another Comic Con recently, and he had his dog with him. His dog is very aged, and he's a rather outspoken atheist, if you will, and connected with him a little bit. But my way of connecting is different than his way of connecting. And I was like, you know what? He has his dog with him. I'd love to just do an engraving of his dog and send it to him. That's one of the things we do, and he brings his dog with him because he doesn't know how much time he has left with her. And went up and gave him this, and he was like, that's something I'll use, and being able to have these connections. Sometimes it just takes somebody to see a person to open the door. And I feel like that's often what I do is I just open my eyes and see who people are. And I love to listen. I love to hear people's stories. And we're all drawn to a bigger story than us. And we are not the main character. We are not. I call myself a professional NPC for that very reason. Because I am not the main character. That's Christ.
Yeah, I can say whenever I was in plays, I never wanted to be the main character. The main character seemed constrained to here's where they are and here's what they're doing, and the peripherals can have a lot more fun of exaggerated things that can move the story, or maybe they will, cause the story to go in the wrong direction. And you can do a lot more as a peripheral character than a main character. At least that's what I've felt doing those. But I think that part of that background of that is, having a theater voice, of enunciating, of projecting, of all of that, and storytelling. I mean, that is the way that I approach scriptures. Is preaching is I'm telling you a story. I'm inviting you into a story. I'm going to approach it a story. I'm going to give illustrations like Jesus does when he's telling stories. I'm like that. That's just the way that I try to do that. Is what story am I going to tell to draw you in? I'll just give you the example that. So I was preaching on Luke 15 on Sunday, which is
that's the parable of the lost stuff. Yeah, there's three stories about lost things there.
I did all three of them on Sunday. I read the whole chapter. But then I open it up before I read the passage, talking about have you ever lost something, and telling the story of when I was disc golfing and I lost the key to the car while I was disc golfing.
Oh no.
And then I can't find it. And we searched for a long time because, well, I didn't want to call my wife to come rescue me from disc golfing with my son and have to bring me key to the car. And well, I end up doing it anyway because there was no other choice. I wasn't walking home and leaving the car there. It had to get home. So she has to come and do that. And I put the sign up to be able to say, if anyone finds this, $50 reward, because, it's going to cost me $150 to go to the dealership and have them make one. I'm not paying that. I'll take the risk of having one key. Thank you very much. And somebody calls and you get the excitement and the joy. And aren't you going to tell everybody that knew about it? Yeah. So I lead into the Jesus telling stories and parables with telling the story myself. And you hopefully feel like you were there and you could feel all of the anguish and all the emotion and all of the other, that's going on. And I you're referencing C.S. Lewis, and I'm going to go to Tolkien. I think it is, don't all the good stories, I think that's one of Sam's line. Don't all the good stories go that way or start that way? Something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the line myself. I have to look it up. I'm gonna go look it up. Otherwise, it's gonna bug me. He's a Sam. And there we go. Comes from let's see. Full of darkness and danger, held on to something. I can't remember. I'm trying to look here. Those are the stories that mattered. It's like in all the great stories, Mr. Frodo's, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. Sometimes he didn't want to know the end, but because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, the shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come. And there's more to it, but yeah. I'd read the whole book, you know, if you don't stop me.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, you know, I think we resonate with stories. So whether we're telling our own stories, whether we're telling someone else's story, whether we're telling the stories in scripture, it's a place where we get to connect with people. And streaming, whether the story is the game, and then you resonate the game to life, and then you resonate that to what Christ did. I mean, there's so many ways to connect things. And when you can make a connection with people, I mean, Jesus, think of the stories he's telling. He is in an agricultural rural society telling stories about agricultural rural things that are around him. You know, having a millstone tied around your neck and thrown in the sea doesn't sound like a good plan to me. I don't want that. A lost sheep. Okay, I know the value of a sheep if I live there. I don't live there. I have no idea what the value of a sheep is. I mean, okay, you got this as a kid. This is what my thought was in this story.
Who wants a sheep?
You had 100. No. Okay, you have 100. You lost one. You got 99. Good enough. Like that was like, what do I care if I lost one? I got 99. Now you get to the 10 coins. Oh no, wait. Oh, I lost a coin. I'm looking for that. I knew value of a coin, so I could have more of a connection. And then, you know, the story of the 2 lost sons. I say they're both lost. But you'd have to go watch the sermon to really flesh that out. I don't want to preach here, but there's still the searching out. There's still the lost. And as you're reading the story, you're supposed to be put in your position of one of the 2 sons in the story. And the Pharisees are putting the younger son in the position of the other person who they don't value. Yeah. And in the value of the kingdom, they're all valuable. And so in the value of everybody that is on Twitch, I don't care if they're the younger son or the older son, they both have value. And we need to be in that space. And we need to be reaching them. And we need to be, and you know this. So I'm not preaching to anybody.
The father prepared a banquet so that all could come, both sons and everybody else. It wasn't just for one or the other. He prepared it for all of them. You know, what an amazing allegory that Christ spun in that.
Yeah, I have been dwelling on that story as my kids have been adults, because nobody really talks about what do you do, how do you parent adult kids. I don't know. There's not a book that I found out there. There's not people talking about it. There's not because they're adults. You don't need to parent them. Well, I do, because I care for them. I love them. And I'm disappointed when they make poor choices or unwise choices, and there are going to be consequences. I mean, I want the best for them, just like the father wants the best for his kids in the story. And he's going to love them where they are. He's going to reach out to them wherever they are. He's going to take all the shame that they, cause and not care about it. So if you're struggling with adult kids, go study that parable a lot more and say, what would the father do?
Yeah, my oldest is 16, and he's prone to making boneheaded decisions on time from time to time. My next is 14, and I have a 11-year-old. No, 10. She's 10 now. I lost track. How bad of a dad am I? Anyway, no. But I never understood the gospel as much as till I had kids, and that idea of parenting adult kids is not one I'm at. But I kind of feel like sometimes I'm parenting my parents in some ways, but they probably feel the same. They're like, he made so many boneheaded decisions over his life. Yeah. But they love me anyway. They cared about me.
Well, in regards to, having kids, totally made me realize what I put my parents through.
Oh no.
So, yeah, I was like, oh man.
Did you ever
I was like,
apologize? Did you ever have that
oh yeah,
conversation? Okay.
oh yeah, totally. Yeah, shortly after, I don't think my second was born yet, so it might have been a year. My daughter might have been a year old, and for Mother's Day, I wrote a big apology letter to my mother and gave it to her.
How was it received?
Oh, tears! Tears. It was just welcomed. It was great. So yeah, it was. Yep, I need to apologize for all these things I did and all these things I put you through. I didn't realize what I did. Now that I'm a dad, now I suddenly am realizing it. So
Realize how much it hurt too.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fun conversation. Let me just wrap up with, what are you looking forward to in digital ministry and streaming this year that's still yet to come? Do you have something exciting? Do you have some things you're going to try? Some new adventures that you're going to venture into?
Like I said, I just started a podcast. I'm working on kind of a fictional universe, if you will. I live in I share this because I run a business. I've been in the online space for so many years that my information is out there, whether or not I like it or not. But I live in Rocky Top, Tennessee. Fun little place. It used to be called Coal Creek, and before it was it was Coal Creek, then it was Lake City, and then it turned to Rocky Top. Long stories, but it's also where the Coal Creek War was fought way back in the day. So there's some historical significance to my area. But I kind of had this idea of what if we were to create, we have all these cool tools, and I've been writing, I've always written music, I've always written poetry. Like I said, my wife and I have written a book recently. It's kind of poetic, a children's book that'll be released September 6th is when we're doing our author release party at Ohio Ren. Our publisher is going to be there, and we'll be in their tent, and then we're going to South Carolina, and then we'll be back up at Ohio as vendors for 4 weeks after that. So, I've started this podcast, and it's a fictional universe called Coal Creek Radio. And I've been writing songs and putting them together with AI using Suno. And the idea is he's cobbled together some CB radios, and he's 20 years in the future from us, different timeline, and he is cobbling together, and he's trying to, it's post-apocalyptic world type thing. And, but he's finding CDs and he's finding tapes around town that tell the story of the history of the area and the history of the people of that area. And all the while, he's trying to build community from these remnants of people who are just trying to stay alive. And you could probably see a little bit of allegory, a little bit of metaphor in that, but that's the idea. And it's just called Coal Creek Radio. I'm putting it on Spotify, on YouTube. I have another Twitch channel. And it's really sparked my interest back into drama as well. That's why I asked about that. And started reading a book all about acting and voice acting and trying to put all that together, because I had a little bit of history with acting as well, and but I've never really delved into it. And so now this is me trying to delve into that. So it's kind of a fun little experiment, if you will. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. All the while, we have Reach coming up, lots of Ren fairs, lots of different times where I can connect with people. If you are at one of these places, I'd love to meet you. Come up to me at a Ren fair and tell me that you saw me on Twitch. I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
So
I am planning on Ren Fair, but it's going to be Michigan Ren Fair, so I don't think you're that far north.
I'll be at Ohio, and I've done Northern Ohio, but I've never done Michigan. I know Penn and Teller. I think they're doing. They're in Minnesota or Michigan? I forget which one.
I think they might be Minnesota. I haven't seen them advertised for Michigan, but
yeah,
I haven't gone since college to Ren Fair, and our daughter has talked the whole clan into going, and we're going for kilt weekend. So I had to go get a kilt, and since I don't actually have
I saw that picture.
yeah, I don't actually have a tartan that's my family because I'm Welsh and other things, but my wife is Scotch Irish. I found out they have a clergy tartan.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay.
yeah. So I got the clergy tartan. I'm like, that counts. I'm good with that. So yeah, I will be headed to Ren Fair. I think it's the weekend of 12, 13, 14, whatever Saturday, Sunday's dates are there. We'll be headed over there and having fun. But who knows? Maybe one of these days I'll talk my daughter and we'll go down to Ohio. Where's it at in Ohio?
Waynesville, Ohio is where that one is. And then we've also done the Viking Fest in northern Ohio, up near Sandusky area. Maybe it's closer to Cleveland. I have to remember where things are. It all muddles together in my brain as to locations. It's just, a place, someplace. And then South Carolina, will be down there next month for Upstate Renaissance Festival. We'll be down in Florida for Florida Renaissance Festival. We do Tennessee Renaissance Festival every year. We'll probably be doing Kentucky Renaissance Festival next year. Man, it's just growing by leaps and bounds. We're getting more and more fairs. We actually have a buddy of ours. We're in the middle of a commission for him, and with 9,000 of these little pins that he does 42 Ren fairs a year. His business does.
Okay.
And he's a vendor and has different groups that go different places. So our work is actually represented in like 42 different fairs every year, which is kind of cool.
Very cool.
I'm just excited what God has for us next. I have no idea what it's going to be, and that's the part of the joy of it. Like, I don't know where it's going to go, but that's not my business. That's His. My business is just to do what He's called me to do in the here and now, and keep on doing it.
Yeah, that's just really cool. Yeah, and to, I know people will often, I'll hear on podcasts, they'll ask, well, what would you tell your younger self? Like, I wouldn't tell my younger self anything. I have no idea what I would have told myself. I wouldn't have got here if somebody would have told me I was coming here. I would have went the other direction if you told me this is where I was going.
Yeah, I would have run as fast as I could away.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, what do you mean I'm going to go do that? I have no interest in doing that. Why would I do that? In fact, when my buddy kept telling everybody go follow him because he's going to go stream, I'm going, no, I'm not. Like, I have no interest. Why would I do? I'm only here because I'm at home. I'm licking my wounds. I'm recovering, and I have nothing else to do. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's more to it than I could see.
Yeah.
And then enough people keep planting the idea in you, and the Holy Spirit lets that water and grow, and you go, okay, let's see if I'm supposed to. And then who knows where God's going to take that. So, oh man, it's been a great conversation. Appreciate you so much. You're going to be at Reach Conference this year, right?
Yeah, definitely will be. In fact, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be there as a vendor, but not necessarily a vendor. We do we do a kind of a partner program with our business where if you are a streamer, you can come in and you can share our link and you get 10%. Whatever you sell, kind of a affiliate type of link system. So we do that. And so I'm going to, I'll reach out to some other like-minded folks to reach and see if people are interested, because we all do, a lot of us, we do ministry, we do gaming. But it is hard. Equipment's expensive. Computers are expensive. Lights are expensive. Internet that is uncapped is expensive. And we go through a ton of bandwidth. It's just another way that our business kind of tries to give back to the community and allows, hey, you see that sign? You want to buy that sign? If you share our stuff, you help us, we're going to help you as well. And so we wanted to make sure we had that opportunity available for folks. So that's one of my main reasons I'm going to be at Reach, but also just to connect with people and say, hey, I'm here, I'm another one of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love the people that aren't in like strictly the mainstream of you're just gaming, so everybody that's in little different niches of things. Like I love the little niche corners of Twitch with people doing baking, cooking streams. I've done those. People doing, IRL construction work. I've done those. People that are doing bike riding. I'm trying to work on doing that. I'm actually planning on.
Are you doing a biking stream?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I've done 2 or 3 biking streams, and I like this. Actually, was what my first thought was to do on Twitch. I saw someone during COVID that was biking across Canada, and I go, "That's what I want to do." So I
wanted to do one where I was driving the back roads of Tennessee because I love doing that. I wanted to do one like that, but I couldn't figure out, like, there's no internet there. I've tried like Starlink and all kinds of stuff. Nothing.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem as well, is internet, because I'm in national forest, so it's spotty. But I've got the rig figured out now, how to be able to stream, and what I'm doing to make it, I'm not streaming directly from my phone that's on my bike. I am connecting.
Storm goes just followed.
Hey, thank you for the follow. I'm connecting via internet with just a webcam to my computer and streaming from my computer. So the bandwidth does not have to be as big as streaming directly from my phone directly. So I'll share a link with, I don't remember what the name of it is, because I looked at 2 or 3 of those things. So I found that, and that's been helpful to be able to stream. So it just turns my computer or my phone into a camera that relays it to my computer and gets uploaded from there. And I can link in and watch the chat on my phone at the same time.
Nice.
So
nice. Yeah.
Yep.
That is a challenge that a lot of people, like, there's a lot of technical details that go in, figuring out your RTMP links and stuff like that to make things happen. And I mean, the logistical jumps we have to come to in order to, like, broadcast, if we were going to do a driving stream or a biking stream, can be pretty ridiculous at times. And
yeah. Well, I'm gonna be going for it. The month of September, I ride every September for Great Cycle Challenge, which is trying to help fight kids cancer and help wipe that out for kids who have that. So I'm riding 500 miles in September this year, and I plan to try to stream all 500 miles of that. So
wow,
we'll see how that goes, and what new tech I might need to get. I actually got this to help stabilize, because that's one of the problems I've had as I've done things, is you go faster and the vibration of the road makes the camera wobble all over the place. I just got that, just unboxed it this week on stream, and we'll be testing that before Monday when I start streaming biking all the time. We'll see how it goes.
I'll have to check you out.
I'm excited. Yeah, I say I think I decided I was putting it under IRL for what category, but actually the guy who I first started watching, he just has his still under just chatting for his live streaming, and I'm like going, okay, I don't know which one's better.
So is it going to be 500 miles of you just breathing hard into the microphone?
No, because while I'm biking, I discovered I can't. Well, I won't go full blast the whole time, because then my signal can't keep up all the time.
Yeah,
but I'll go slower, and we'll be leisurely, and I'll be engaging the chat and all of that, because so I will have to ride longer to get my 500 miles than if I were just to go get my 500 miles, if that makes sense. So,
okay.
But I like the idea of it. We'll see at the end of September if I still like the idea of it. But this is my big go of it, and experimenting and seeing if people like it and hanging out. And then who knows, maybe I'll have to establish a regular day of the week that is, it's bike ride day, we're going, or what I've done previously. It's just spontaneous. Today I'm riding, and go live when I do it. So
yeah, and I've seen people do like just mowing their grass streams. If I did that, it's all my whole front yard's uphill. It's like, nah, I can't do that one. It'd just be breathing hard, breathing hard into the microphone. I'll be praying for you on that, because we don't want you to be on the side of the road tangled in wires from all your streaming gear. Trying to figure out how to get moving again.
yeah, I definitely don't want to have problems with all the streaming gear and all of that while I'm doing it. So that's one of those things where maybe all 500 miles won't actually end up, but it's the goal.
Yeah.
And we'll see what God does with it. And one of the reasons why for me, I love it is because of where I live, and I'm always riding by something that's just beautiful. And
Where in the world are you?
I am 5 minutes from Lake Michigan.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I ride. There's trees everywhere. There's sunset. I ride past farms, and then the farms will have a whole flock of heron in the farm, out in the farmland. And I've got turkeys that walk through my yard. One of the live streams that I did with on my bike, I think we came across 6 different deer total. It might have actually been more than that, and several fawns. And we stopped and looked at the fawns, and then I kept riding, and it's just like. I like to stop and see creation along the way. And to me, on the bicycle is the best way to do it. Because if I get in the car, I'm going to the destination. If I'm on my bicycle, it's about the journey.
Yeah.
And so I just love that.
Cool.
Well, hey, as we go out, I usually, unless you're going to stay on streaming, do you have someone we could raid out together? If you're going to stay on, I will raid over to you.
Okay, let me look at real quick, see who's been active here. Bearded Beowulf is on right now. We could hit him up. Do you know him?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, we can hit him up. Let me do that. I'm going to raid out to him as well. Why don't we just do a double raid?
Yeah, that's what I like to do is the double raid. Then we both come in with the raid. Everybody that was here, we all go and we bless one person and hang out with them. So
I like it.
Let me know when you're ready to hit raid, and I'll hit mine at the same time.
Okay, I am ready to go in, I don't know, 7 seconds here.
Okay.
And I am good to go. And thank you all.
Right.
Thanks for having me over here, and look forward to seeing you in the future. It was great seeing you and actually having more of a conversation with you too, Flycap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love having conversations with people. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out in the chat, the conversations, and all the raids. What a blessing it is. So thank you, everyone. Have a blessed day, and let's go and bless other people. And I'm going to show a promo for the conference. It may run out before you get there, but we'll play it anyway.